listening to Bleeding Page Podcast. Join authors Chad Lutzke and Jason Brandt as they delve into writing and publishing the dark side of fiction.
Chad Lutzke.
Jason Brandt.
What's going on, man?
Just trying to keep my head on straight.
Me too. Me too. Being busy is a good thing, but it makes it feel like you've got mom brain or something.
Mom brain?
Yeah, isn't that a thing when women have babies? Maybe. I also don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I thought that was the thing, like lack of sleep.
Oh, okay, because
makes it hard for
being
moms
a mom
to...
is such a hard job. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying like moms are dumbasses.
Like moms are dumb.
Oh, God. Best intro ever. Speaking of dumbasses, we just got done talking to Tim Meyer.
We did. It was good to have him on here. Good guy. I loved him.
Yeah. As we get into, we both have significant backgrounds with him, so it was cool to talk to him. And obviously, you guys have written a book together, but for all the hours I've podcasted with him, it's funny that we're both authors and have spent very little time actually talking about our business. It's odd. That
is weird. Yeah. Well, you guys have been at cons together. You guys didn't talk books at all there either?
No, I met him at one book signing he was at years ago, and then we were at Scares together maybe, I guess it's probably 3 years ago now. No, we just drank beer. I don't remember ever talking about... I'm sure I bought one of his books. I've read his books, but I don't think I've ever talked too much. So it was good to get some insight on exactly what the hell is going on with the project you have with him and all kinds of other stuff he has, including an exorbitant amount of trunk novels.
Yeah, 5 or 6 of them, he said.
Yeah.
He's very prolific.
Yeah. He writes a little bit more than I do, which makes me jealous. A lot more than I do.
Yeah, he definitely writes. We've been talking for a year, talking about doing another book together, and there was a couple things that just haven't lined up. For one, we couldn't really agree on anything, and I briefly touched on this before. I think when we were talking to Keelan Patrick Burke, once in a while we'll send each other. I talk to him every day, but once in a while, one of us will get a message, and it'll just simply say, "What about this?" And then we'll kind of bounce. Maybe it'll spark an idea, and I came up with a really cool, what I thought was a cool idea, and he loved it. So that was going to be it. And we're like, okay, and then we can do this, and then this. And it was about a band that was going to go way out in BFE somewhere and record some music. We've been wanting to write a slasher. I think he wants to write something that's intelligent, where I want to write something that's just stupid for a change. It's just like when you look at the cover, that, oh, this is just a dumb blood-filled, splatterfest. So
sounds like my kind of book.
Quite agreed. Yeah. But I just wanted to kind of like just have fun, have humor and gore and stuff in there. And, but yeah, so and then as this band is recording with their groupies and stuff, there's, like I said, it's a slasher and people start getting killed. The band members are getting killed and stuff. And then, once we were talking more about it, I saw a trailer for a movie, and it was the book we were going to write, essentially, from what it looked like in the trailer. And I sent it to Tim, and I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to write that book anymore. And it was the Foo Fighters movie.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
there went
that got a little publicity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, I haven't seen the movie, but looking at the trailer, I knew enough. I mean, I know that it's a little bit different. I think Dave Grohl becomes possessed and kills his own band members and, kind of thing.
That sums it up, yeah.
So ours was different. There was going to be some kind of killer elsewhere, but same kind of scenario, going off, recording, people start to die, they're being killed. So we're not doing that. And so we haven't fallen into something again. We're still toying around with some ideas. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't think either one of us are in a hurry.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he'll have 7 more novels finished by the time you guys get working on it.
All at least 1,000 or 100,000 words. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Anything you want to add before we jump into the interview here?
I don't think so. No, I appreciate everyone who's been listening to. I get the sense that when we share the podcast, or when I share the podcast on Twitter.
Yeah, because I'm not on social media at all.
Yeah,
I don't share anything.
It doesn't get a lot of shares, but people are talking about it, more than they're actually like clicking like and subscribing and doing that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. And I appreciate that. Still getting emails from agents. I just got another 2 in the last week. People wanting to be on the podcast. And I hate just outright turning people down. But I just try to explain that for now, what we've been doing is just basically grabbing people that we are either good friends with or that we are well acquainted with. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself being well acquainted with Keelan Patrick Burke, but I've had conversations with him and I'm more familiar with him and that kind of thing. So sometimes, I never heard of an author and so I don't, I usually tend to try to read a book by the author that if I've never read them before. Like when we had Michael Brent Collings, I had heard of him. I had never read him. Bought one of his books before he came on and we had a good conversation, and he's a great writer. It was a great book. And so I'd like to do that. And sometimes it's not, I just don't want to, I guess I would encourage people to continue to do so, but I don't want to hurt any feelings if I say, well, maybe down the road we'll do something where we can open up a little bit more when we've kind of gone through our list of people that would really.
I can't imagine it'll be that long from now, but it pays to be judicious, particularly when we're trying to get the footing. So no, I hear what you're saying.
Yep.
I started on my website, finally. I talked about it, I think, months ago that I was going to have to start doing this. And I finally, just today, started working with Squarespace. So I'm trying to figure out the way it works and everything. And then once I get that, I'm going to port my mailing list over to it. Because I think I'm going to go from paying about $130 a month for my mailing list down to maybe $50 for my mailing list and my website combined through Squarespace, which would be great.
Yeah.
So the fees look good. And so far, the website editor looks pretty simple. But just having to rebuild my whole website is going to take me a while.
That is not something I ever want to do.
No, I'm not thrilled about it. But, opportunities, not obstacles, blah, blah, blah. I'll figure out a way to make this a win.
What is the drive for that? I mean, you don't have a website right now because it went down, right? But then it went back up.
It did, but now the server is done. So I need to... And I've needed to rebuild it for years. It was on an old theme that wasn't really being updated anymore. And just...
Right.
Like I said, I'm thinking about going maybe exclusive with Amazon here at some point in the near future. So... rebuilding all my book pages and not having to put all the links and update all that stuff, it's a good opportunity to do that anyway.
Right.
So work on that stuff. I'll try to maybe integrate my YouTube business into my website a little more. I'm not sure yet. I have to see what all Squarespace allows for that, but they have a pretty nice feature for selling signed books. They can monitor inventory and take orders and all of that. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting into that a little bit. It's something I haven't done much. If people email me and ask for a signed book, hey, shoot me some money on PayPal. But if I could have all my books listed as what I have in inventory and it takes the orders and, then I just ship it, that would be really nice.
I think a lot more people, including small presses, are doing that lately.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels like the way to go. So
having a store on their website.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just Squarespace. And I think it uses Square for checkout, but I'm not 100% sure on that either. So I will hopefully have some updates here in the next few episodes. And if it goes smoothly, I will let everyone know. And if it doesn't, I will definitely let everyone know.
And then you'll have to write another book to put on it.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be amazing? All right. Without any further ado, let's jump into the Tim Meyer interview.
Let's do it.
Get a lot written today?
Yes.
Tim Meyer, welcome to Bleeding Page.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brant.
This will probably be a bit of an awkward interview for people to listen to because the three of us haven't spent much time talking before. So
Never.
Just be kind of trying to feel out this whole podcasting thing with each other.
Yeah. Gonna be shy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Tim was on Final Guys with me for what, a year and a half, something like that.
About that, yeah.
It was quite a while, and recently disappeared into the ether. Ether?
Yes.
I
quit. We couldn't agree on contract negotiations. It got ugly.
It was Titan.
Things were said. All the
things were said during Titan.
Things were said. Feelings were hurt. No, I'm just kidding.
But I will say this, of all the podcast episodes we've done, we've probably not really talked about writing much.
No, I don't think we've ever really, besides like, small stuff here and there if we're
new books
something.
Out, blah, 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 read this. But you guys have obviously talked about writing quite a bit. You've written a book together, which is
we did.
my favorite books of that year. Might have been my favorite book of that year, actually.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I guess we could just kick off with that. How did you guys... who approached whom about writing Worwmood together? How did that even start?
It's a funny story. So actually, I was listening to Chad talk about his youth on another podcast. I want to say it was This Is Horror.
It was because I couldn't believe that Michael David Wilson just out of nowhere, because he does his research, and he's like, I understand that you were like got in some legal trouble and were on probation when you were like 12. And I was like, what?
He did a legit background check on you.
Wow. I've never heard this story.
Yeah. So Chad was talking about his legal troubles when he was a youth, and just like the stories he was saying about like just going into houses and when nobody was home and like doing bad stuff in them. I don't know. For some reason, that story just like kickstarted an idea in my head, and I got like really motivated to write it, and I kind of started writing some stuff about it. And then I reached out to Chad because Chad and I go way back. Like we used to both write for Horror Novel Reviews, which was like a website that reviewed horror novels. Obviously.
I remember that. Is that still a thing?
No,
it is. I'm an admin there. I just posted on there today, but the founder has passed away. He passed away.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Matt Mulgard.
Yeah. But yeah, so Chad and I go way back, and I just reached out to him and I was like, hey, I like the podcast interview. Your story kind of inspired me to start writing something. And he was like, oh, cool, man. I was like, yeah, if you want to collaborate on it, like, let me know if that's something you want to do. And he was like, yeah, let's, take a look at what you got. And I think I'd sent him over some stuff, and he was like, this is terrible. I don't want anything to do with it. But if you rewrite everything, we could do something. I'm like, all right, sounds good to me. So that's kind of what we did. We just kind of came up with a story using like the same idea, like the same central idea about a bunch of kids and them kind of breaking into houses and doing bad stuff and getting into trouble. And then the idea kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, that's kind of how it all came together.
So you heard this delinquent story and thought, I want to go into business with him?
Yeah.
This sounds like my kind of guy.
That's an interesting play. I don't think I've heard that one.
Breaking the law.
And you guys have actually been, well, I shouldn't say shopping anymore. I mean, it's been optioned. You wrote the screenplay. Now you're just trying to see if it gets rolling into production. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. We're kind of at the point where we never had super high hopes. I think it's important for anybody who gets approached with, movie people or whatever that can make something happen, just kind of be like, oh, that would be cool. We'll see. Don't get too excited. And that was kind of our attitude from the get-go, trying anyway, But then the more people that got involved, the more it seemed like it was going to happen. For a while, who's to say? We could get a phone call or a message or whatever any day, but as of right now, there's nothing that it's gone through some really cool hands. One in particular that I don't think it was a good fit in the first place, and they didn't either. Because when you look at the roster of films, it's like, why would you want to do Wormwood? Wormwood is not anything like these other great movies, but the other movies are just, they're like off the wall more kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
It's been a cool journey though. And
it's fun. We would have meetings with the whole team, and we got a director signed on. We got the production team right away, obviously. And Josh Malerman has already mentioned this a couple times in podcasts, so I'll just say it's Spin a Black Yarn, him and Ryan Lewis's thing, who did We Need to Do Something with Max Booth III's book. And I think that and this was, Tim, this was like what, 2 years ago?
It was like
the book hadn't even been out yet, and they wanted it.
Yeah, and the book came out in 2020, right? Like the latter half of 2020.
Like
so it was like the summer of 2020. So we're approaching almost 2 years that we were approached. But I mean, it took us like a good, I don't know, like 9 months to actually hammer out like a final draft of the screenplay.
No way.
I think it took us about that long between all the rewrites and revisions and notes and stuff.
It seemed like it went really pretty fast. I mean, dude, they've been shopping it for over a year, like a year.
Maybe 6 months. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating a little bit. But it was a decent time that we put into it. But I mean, we got the opportunity to collaborate on the screenplay, which is cool because you don't always get that when somebody comes to you and wants to make your stuff into a movie. So we got that learning experience and working with producers and learning how to write an actual screenplay, something that Chad had never really experimented with before. I've only experimented just for fun, nothing official. So that was a really cool learning experience as well. And it's been cool. And even if nothing happens with it, it was still worth pursuing.
Yeah, I never see it as a waste of time.
No, definitely
even if nothing happens, it was good. It was neat. Learned some stuff.
That's some really awesome people.
Yeah, and I think I mean, if something did come of it, that would be really cool. Obviously, but I don't know. It is weird with other people who are like, if you feel strongly about something and they're like, well, this needs to go. There was a lot taken out or changed, and some of it had to do with like budget stuff. Like if there's a very short scene in a mall, then that really doesn't have that much significance. There's no sense in having that part in there, because then that's just another location that they have to pay for. Yeah. But there was one thing in particular that I really didn't want to cut out, and I think that it's one scene that was actually Tim's idea that I think sets, because when I look at Wormwood, I look at it as something that has been done before. I don't think that it's truly original. I think that it's good, but I don't think that, I mean, this kind of thing has kind of, been done before. But there was something that was asked to be cut that I thought kind of set it aside from, a little bit more on its own. I don't know. Tim knows that I feel real strongly about that, about that one scene, but
yeah. But it's been fun, and it's so hard to get a movie made. I mean, movies cost millions of dollars to make, and I don't know, millions of dollars are hard to find out there.
You guys have made it further than I made it. I mean, I had a couple options. I had one actual screenplay completed that was shopped, but I never got to like having a director attached or anything like that. So that's much further than pretty much anybody else ever gets. So even if it doesn't get made, you got close.
We were also told that there's an actress, and I can't remember what the term is called. Tim might remember, but basically an actor and actress can sign something that states, I want this part but if something better comes along, then
The letter. It's called a letter of intent. So it's like where they.
Okay, am I frozen?
No, I see.
I see you. Oh, you might be frozen, but we can hear you.
Son of a bit.
Oh, we can hear you. So swear some more.
I must be frozen, huh?
Oh God.
This happens almost every episode.
You know what's weird? Like I couldn't find my little Ethernet cable thing to jack right in, so I'm on Wi-Fi. So I thought this was going to be me.
I mean, you're definitely potato cam, but
am I?
Yeah.
Oh
Dude,
man,
you've been potato cam for 2 years.
No, when I jack into the matrix, I'm usually okay.
Okay. his I think tab freezes or his browser or something.
No,
Terrible.
I just froze up. I don't know if you guys heard any of that, but
we heard you cursing a lot. That was it.
Yeah.
There's a term where an actor and actress
Letter of intent.
What is it?
A letter of intent.
Okay, yeah, where they basically say, "Yeah, I would like this part.
Yes.
I'm up for it, but if something better comes along or something like that,
yeah,
they're not locked in."
So the thing with the movie business is if there's no money, there's like no movie. So like people can sign on to things, but if there's no money to make that movie, then you don't have anything. And so if they sign on to something else that does get the money and it goes, and then they're locked up for 3 months or whatever shooting, then they can't commit to this other project that might get the money while they're shooting that. So it's basically just saying, yeah, I'd like to be in this, but
I don't know if we could say who, but it's somebody that
we don't need to mention names.
Huh?
We don't need to mention any names.
Yeah, it was somebody that I knew by face, but not by name, and you guys know by name.
Okay.
I know Tim did already.
We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Behind the scenes.
I would love for you guys to get this made, not just so I could ride your coattails, but I would be curious to hear about the financials of what this does to your book sales.
Yeah,
that's what I'm always curious about. I mean, it feels to me like every author, not every author, almost all authors, particularly horror authors, the number one goal is to have their book become a movie for whatever reason. That's so many of us would love to see that happen. But I'm always curious, even if it's just a small movie, what does that do to your sales? Like obviously Bird Box being on Netflix, Sandra Bullock, that,
blew up.
That sent him into the stratosphere. But what does a $1 million movie or a $3 million movie do to book sales? I'd be really curious to find that out.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. I hope we find out one day.
Hopefully you get very rich.
I don't think it'll happen. But.
So you primarily deal with small publishers, right? Is that still the case?
I'm like a mix, man. I kind of bounce back and forth between small press and self-publishing.
When was the last book you self-published? I thought you'd been doing mostly presses lately.
Pteranodon Canyon that came out last month. I just put out myself.
Oh, I didn't realize that was okay.
It had a limited release, hardcover release through Thunderstorm, and then I did my own thing with the paperback and ebook. So,
how do you end up deciding which to do? Do you shop it around, and if there are no bites, you self-publish, or
no? I mean, each book is different. So
it's me. It's because I've been bugging them for the last year. Why don't you self-publish more?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean you have good points, and I do love our little debates between the self-publish and the small press route, but kind of just depends on a few things. I guess it depends on how I feel about the content. If it's something like super personal and maybe too weird that small press might not want to take it, I'll kind of just take it and do it myself. If it's something like Malignant Summer that was like 200,000 words and the editing that it would have cost to get that edited properly,
thousands of
dollars, would have cost a lot of money. So
good call on that one, yeah.
I was like, I kind of need to go through a small press for that. But funny enough, that book is no longer with them, and now I'm self-publishing it. So I kind of made out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have the edited manuscript?
So when they closed down, they provided me with everything. So I have everything. And I actually just
digital high five on that one.
Yeah, I actually just got it. Hold on, I'm gonna do a little show and tell if that's cool. Am I allowed to do that?
Please do.
I self-published a hardcover edition, which came out really nice. It's got like the book flaps and everything.
Oh, did you do that through Ingram?
Ingram, yeah. So it's such a big book that like I wanted to put it in hardcover, and I had done that with the Switch House too, because that was self-published, and I did a nice little hardcover edition for that. And I just like hardcover, so I kind of wanted a copy of it. So
it definitely adds an air of professionalism, I think, even just to your Amazon page, having a hardcover on there.
Yeah. The only drawback is if you go and sell through like their expanded distribution, and elect to have them returned, like you'll sometimes get like a box of books returned to you, like out of nowhere.
IngramSpark?
Yeah, like you can have expanded distribution. So like for example, like a Barnes and Noble can like buy 10 copies of the book, but the only way booksellers really buy them is if they can return them if they don't sell them.
Right.
And you can elect to have them just destroy them or get them sent back to you. And so I'm like, yeah, just send them back to me. Because like when I published it, it was kind of like, no one's going to stock this in Barnes and Noble, right? But like the other day, I just got like a return for like 20 books, just like sent right back to me.
Really?
Yeah, it was real strange. So I don't know
Do
if
you know
that's
where it came
like,
from?
No, they don't tell you, which is kind of crazy. And maybe they do. Maybe I just haven't looked into it enough. But it just like a box of Switch House books, like 20 of them just showed up. I'm like, what is this? And then I went to my account and it shows you like return books and it gives you the quantity, but it doesn't tell you where it came from. So
it gives you some books to use at a convention, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they won't go to waste. I'll sell them like that on my website. I'll sell them at conventions. I'll sell them, but it's just like, I hope it doesn't happen too much because I don't have the room to put like 100 books, you know? It's kind of crazy, but
for sure. What were you going to say, Chad?
I was just nodding. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. I've never gone through Ingram. I've looked into it multiple times, and then I got partway into the process and was like, I got other shit I got to do, and I just never finished it.
It's similar. It's similar to KDP. I don't know if it's probably harder to use because KDP, Amazon makes it pretty easy to just upload your stuff and just go. And Amazon's like the main. So I don't know if you guys are wide or if you guys just do Amazon, but like maybe even 99% of my sales goes directly through Amazon, and KDP just makes that kind of transition a little bit smoother. Where Ingram, to go to Amazon, I find it a little bit rougher, like the transition. So KDP is definitely more user friendly.
Yeah, that was my experience just when I was trying to figure it out. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that you kind of have to like research and stuff, but it's not too bad.
I got turned off by a publisher who was doing a hardcover release of something of mine, and they had spelled something wrong or left a word out right in the introduction.
Yeah.
And I think they caught it, or I can't remember. And they're like, "Oh no problem. I'll re-upload. It's only $25." And I was like, "What for that one word?" Fee.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." And then something else happened, and they ate the cost. Something else happened that was wrong. I can't remember what it was. It may have been the cover or something. It was another $25, and I was just like, "Man, I'm not doing that."
Yeah. They also charge like a registration fee or like a processing fee, like right up front to list the title. It's like $50 or something.
Yeah.
I'm not. And then with Amazon, I mean, there are books that I have that I mean, if it stated it as edition, that it would be like 4 or 5 different editions up there, because I've caught a word, or maybe somebody else did and said, hey, I just thought you should know, or I want to go in and I want to update the call to action at the back of the book, and add new links.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay $25 for that.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. If you're someone who changes that stuff frequently, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. That's. I've always wondered about that fee. Why do they charge that? Oh,
it's just because they can, I guess.
I mean, to be fair, if they make a ton of money off self-publishing, just getting people to pay a $50 fee to get their book up there that they're ever going to sell 3 copies of, it's probably how they make most of their money, or at least a solid chunk of money would be off that first-time fee.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you said you decide per book on whether to go with a press. What makes you decide that a book should go with a press as opposed to putting it out there yourself?
Like I said, the length is sometimes a factor. Sometimes it's hard to find a publisher that'll take like a 40,000 word book that's not quite a novel, but not a little too long to be a novella, and they kind of don't know how to market it. And for some reason, like 3 of my books actually like fall right into that weird word count range. So that could be a factor sometimes. And yeah, like it's just like the content, to like a dinosaur western was kind of hard to find a publisher for it. I had one publisher who was kind of interested, but then they kind of ghosted for like a year. So
a year?
Yeah. I've had this like ready to go for a while, and I was just waiting for a thunderstorm to publish it before I kind of finally decided what to do. But I was talking to a publisher, and then they were like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool, send me a contract. And then they never did. So, like a year later, I was just like, well, they're not interested. I'm just gonna do it myself.
I think you gave them ample time.
Yeah, a year's good. A year's a good time.
How much do you think having to edit your giant ass novel contributed to the closing of that publisher?
Oh my God. None. But they did a great job with it. Ken Kane actually edited that novel, and
oh really?
Yeah, he did a fantastic job with it. So
I wonder how long it took him. That's a big
took him a while. And he had like
he did Wormwood too, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's very detailed too. So it was like there was a lot of edits and a lot of notes, and I don't even know how long the edits took me on that. Not as long as it took me to write the novel 3 times, but.
Do you have anything, Chad, before I switch into a little more business oriented stuff?
No, go ahead.
I'm curious. You said a huge percentage of your sales come from Amazon. Are you mostly in KDP Select?
Yeah. Most of my stuff is in KDP Select just because I do get a lot of page reads, like a decent amount. I know they don't pay that well, but I do get a lot of new readers from that. So I think it's beneficial for me. And I think it outweighs going wide and selling like, 2 copies on Smashwords every 3 years or something crazy. Cause like there's just the market is just weird in other places. And I know that's not true for every author, because I know some authors who do well on like Kobo and Nook, but it's just not the norm. Mm-hmm. And Amazon is just better. And plus, like, you get access to the ads for Amazon too when you're in Select. So, and certain promotional stuff like the Kindle Countdown deal, which I think is pretty cool too.
Yeah, no, they definitely. I mean, there's a reason they're the industry leader.
Yeah.
Do you have a bunch of audiobooks? Do you have any audiobooks?
I do have audiobooks. I got about 5 available now. Even Wormwood, even though Chad and I are pretty sure we're not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Really?
But that's another story. That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
Do you just not want to talk about it? Is that why? Because
I don't want
to
to
curious.
Okay. I don't want to talk about it.
It's drama.
That's great.
But
not getting paid for work is bullshit.
it sucks. But yeah, I've got like 5. Let's see. About five audiobooks out, and they do okay. Not like nothing crazy. I mean, the first one I ever did was In the House of Mirrors, and that was like 7 years ago, and that one sold quite a bit. But I
That's
feel like
a longer novel, right?
it's like 90,000. Yeah, 90,000 words.
So probably a 9-hour audiobook.
I think it was longer than that. I think it's like clocks in around 10 or 11.
Wow. Okay. That would explain it. I've been noticing a big correlation between length of the audiobook and sales with Audible in particular. So that's why I was curious. Are any of your shorter ones, like the 40,000 word books, any of those in audio?
Yeah, Switch House is on there. Sells okay. 69 is on there. That one's about like 5 hours long. It sells like a couple copies here and there. But yeah, like the shorter ones I don't sell as much as like the longer ones. The Late Night Summer is going to be an audiobook, and I feel very bad for the narrator.
Who is paying for that?
Actually found someone to royalty share that. So
holy crap, man.
Yeah, and a really good narrator who's done like some amazing stuff too. And he's just like I love the story and I want to do it. So I'm like, all right,
that's
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Joe?
No, Joe's actually doing Paradise Club. I just signed with him. He's going to do Paradise Club sometime, I think at the end of the summer. So that'll be cool. But no, somebody else is doing Late Night Summer, and they're very excited about it. But it's not going to be done. He's not going to start until like January of 2023. So we got a while, but
it'll be done around 2027.
About that, yeah.
How many words did you say it was? 240?
No. Like it clocks in around 190.
Oh, but okay. Still, you're looking at over a 20-hour audiobook.
Oh yeah, probably more than that, I would think. What is like the math that they do? Is it like is it an hour for 9,000 words? Is that it?
Mine ends up about 10,000 words is about an hour, at least with the guy I've used for my last freaking 6 novels. But he reads fairly quickly, I guess. So I don't know if that's typical.
190,000 words is about 7 of my books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's accurate.
I'd be curious how that sells for you then, comparatively, just because of the length. I have a feeling you can get a lot of people who will use a credit on that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting experiment to see, because I'm kind of curious too, because I've always heard that too. Like, there's like a weird algorithm where like Audible will promote the longer stuff more. Like, you get more visibility with longer works than you do.
I mean,
shorter.
If one credit gets you a 4-hour book, or it gets you a 20-hour book, people are going to pick the 20-hour book.
That's true too.
So I've noticed it with myself, and I'm really thinking about doing more of my series, putting them in box sets to try to get them over 20 hours to see how well that does. I have one box set now, and it has done really well for me.
Why don't you just write a 20,000 word novel or a 200,000 word novel?
Way too stupid for that. It takes me years to get to 200,000 words across like 3 books, you know.
Well, you wrote a series, just write it all as one book.
That's another series, but just write one. Like I get all my ideas in the book, and I'm like, I am done, and then it takes me like months or years to continue it. I mean, I've been writing this. I have a 6-book series, and I've been writing it for 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah.
So it's I wish I could do that. I would. Plus, then I'd have to pay to edit it all at once, and you know,
expensive.
I like eating and having a house.
I like putting food on the table. Food's good. How do your audio book sales do for a series?
Well, yeah. I mean, it helps that I have a narrator who's very popular. So that's helped me a lot. But I have one series where the first book's maybe 6.5 hours, and that one doesn't do as well. I've sold a lot of the first book just because I've had it for free forever, so people could get the audiobook for maybe $2, something like that. But the listen through on that's not as good. But I think if I put them in a box set, that it'll end up doing really well for me, because he does a great job across them. And if I do that, it'll end up putting them around 20, 22 hours maybe for the whole series, something like that. So I'm going to look into that. The only problem is I'm approaching on a lot of them the end of the royalty share time frame with him. And if I put them all in a box set with him, then that just extends it another 7 years. And I don't know if I want to just wait that out and do it myself or try to do it with him. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I hear the process for getting out of your Audible contracts,
Not good.
royalty splits, I've heard it's difficult.
I think this is the last year for In the House of Mirrors. So, or last year might have been. I don't even know. I have to check on that. I'm really bad at keeping up. That's like the one thing I think I need to improve as a writer is like getting my shit organized and contracts and stuff. But yeah, I think it's coming to an end maybe this year, In the House of Mirrors, because that was the first one I ever did. And that was probably like 2015-ish. So, and they're like 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it would probably be this year. So I'll have to look into that and see what's going on with that.
Who was talking to us about that, Chad? Was it Zach Bohannon?
I think it
like
was. Yeah, I think it was because I started asking questions about box set audiobooks for existing audiobooks.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and listen. I think it was him who was talking about it. So when you get this audiobook out, and now that you've self-published Malignant Summer, that's a huge book. Are you charging? What are you charging for, say, the ebook?
$5.99.
That's very reasonable for that length of book.
Which was actually a couple bucks cheaper than what the publisher was charging for it. But that makes sense too, because they needed a cut and they wanted to make sure I was getting a good cut. So now that the cuts all going to me, I decided to like lower it a little bit. And plus it's been out a year, so thought it was a good opportunity to drop the price down a little bit. The hardcover is going to be a little bit expensive just because it costs a lot to make. I think it's retailing at like $33.
Yeah, I mean, it takes like 3 trees a book, so that makes sense. So, and like the royalty on that is very small too. At $33, I'm only making like a few bucks off of a book. It's wild. Even the paperback, I think it's priced currently at $22. With like I might actually lower it once because the other edition is actually still up on Amazon, and I've been trying to fight with them to get it taken down, which is not going very well. So that's another whole story. The publisher's edition is still for sale?
Yeah, the paperbacks, the publisher's having problems getting the paperback editions of a lot of their titles taken down from all retailers across the board. So I think IngramSpark is giving them some issues, but it's between them and Amazon. Someone's got to get it taken down. So
yeah, it just sucks if they're selling copies of your book and who's getting paid.
Well, I would like to think that he'll pay us out once the dust settles, but who knows? It's all up in the air. It's the one thing that sucks about, going through small press publishers is that a lot of the times these places are run by one person, maybe 2 people if you're lucky. And if something happens to them, it could be anything. It could be just like a life event. Financially, they're not doing well personally, so they have to put the publishing business aside, and sometimes they don't pay, or there's so many different things that can go wrong, and like your whole backlog is in the hands of this one person. So that's always something to think about too when you're going through small presses versus self-publishing. Whereas self-publishing, as Chad points out almost daily to me, is that I get to have control over all of my stuff, and like there's only one person to blame if it goes wrong, and that's yourself. So yeah, so it's definitely hard. It's like I don't know. I see both sides.
I've noticed recently, just having conversations with people and being on Twitter and stuff, that people are starting to get a little tired of small presses and starting to have a wandering eye toward self-publishing and considering it, just because of, Silver Shamrock going under, and then, like Poltergeist Press and what was the other, Sinister Grin? Was that the one?
Yeah. All three of my publishers, by the way.
Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah.
You're the kiss of death.
And there's been others, and it just puts the writer in a bind. And I think Shamrock hit the hardest because it had gotten so popular so quick. And then, with the people who either just put a book out or were getting ready and getting excited, and then, having that pulled out from under them, a lot of people are seeing, I don't know, it's like you can't really tell who's going to go under and why.
Yeah. Yeah, it could happen at any point. Like I was saying, I mean, just one bad thing away from imploding. And so that's something to just be mindful about if you're going with a small press.
Have you had any bad experiences getting your work back when someone folded?
No, I've been pretty lucky in all three of those situations. The rights were either just handed back to me, or I just was like, "Hey, can I have the rights?" And they were like, "Yep, here's a letter." So I haven't had any issues getting stuff back. But that could be an issue. You get someone who goes under and refuses to give you the rights back, or God forbid they pass away or something, and they were the only one in charge of the thing. And then it's like, how do you even get the rights back? Like, what's the protocol for that? Like, there's crazy stuff that could happen. So, but I've been lucky enough to where I've actually gotten the rights back pretty quickly. So
that's good, because I've heard some horror stories, and that's one thing that always concerned me. Yeah,
I mean, it could easily happen, and then your book is locked up for like the length of that contract, essentially, right? So, and that's why I think it's good to also diversify and like spread them out to different small presses, or keep some for yourself. That's another reason why I like to have some of my stuff self-published, because what if all these publishers go under and I can't get the rights back for those books? Like, at least I'll have something to be in control of, and I'll have something on the market to sell. Whereas like I know authors who have just exclusively published with one press, and it could happen to a mainstream publisher too, like a traditional Big Five publisher. One of them can go under too. So it's not like exclusive to the small press. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like to have some of my own stuff in my backlog, so I can control it. And if something does happen, I have something to sell.
Do you try to adhere to any kind of publishing schedule? I ask because if you were sitting on a book for a year, that's got to throw things all over the place.
I mean, I'm usually ahead anyway. Like, I have 5 things right now that could be probably published. So I always have things like, I don't like just as soon as it's ready to go. I don't just like get it out there. I kind of like to sit on them a little bit, just because I'm also like picky with my editing and my drafts, and like I always want to do like one more draft on it to make it like as perfect as I possibly can make it. So like I'm not in any rush, but I also like to have like a novel just in case like someone approaches me that I would want to work with and be like, "Hey, do you have a novel?" And I'd be like, "No, I don't have anything." So at least I'd have something to like give that person. Or I kind of stockpile things so I can kind of space things out that way too.
I've heard of a trunk novel, but 5, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple novels. I got a short story collection that I think I have sold. I haven't gotten the contract, but like a verbal agreement. And then I have like 4 novellas that I'm like shopping / debating whether or not to do myself. So, so I have like 5 or 6 things that are just sitting there.
That's so crazy to hear. When I get a book done, I'm like, I'm releasing this in 2 weeks. Like, as soon as I get it back from the editor.
I don't know why. I think part of it is because like I always do like that one last draft. Because even when I think something's done, like I always like to run through it one more time. I think that's just a thing for me. But then there's also like I said, there's things that happen. Certain publishers open up an open call that I want to work with, so I like to have something ready for that. And then like one novel I've been kind of shopping around to literary agents, which is like a crazy experience if you've never done it before. And so like I like to have a novel just for that too, to try and get a literary agent, because that's one of my goals for like the next few years, is to try and get one. So
I'm so blown away by that five books. That so blows my mind. Chad, do you have any questions before we start rounding this out?
I didn't think that was uncommon though. I think that's like there's some like traditionally published novelists that just have like 15 to 20 novels just kind of like sitting there, and then they'll give their agents like all of them, and then the agents will pick out which ones that they want to try to sell, and then those other novels just kind of like get cast aside for a rainy day. I think that's fairly normal. I
don't know if it's normal, but I know that Mallerman had 26 or 27 of them before he.
Mallerman's definitely abnormal in that regard. Most people don't write that many books. And
I was listening to, I think it was Stephen Graham Jones too, talk on a podcast, and he kind of said a similar thing. He had like 15 novels that were just like sitting around, and his agent just goes through them and like was like, "Yep, My Heart is a Chainsaw is the next one that we're gonna try to sell," and that's the one that gets picked. And
Chad, how many do you have right now? Do you have any that aren't done?
I have 3 that are done that are, but they're scheduled to be released this year.
So you have like contracts signed and everything?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, they're all coming out.
Yeah, so I have like 6 things that have no contracts or anything. They're just in the pile. Crap.
That's so funny.
But I'm halfway through like 2 or 3 other books, but that's because this opportunity pops up, or this, I've got a lot of stuff on the back burner that should have been done by now, but not complete.
Okay, that makes sense. I've got a bunch of like third written novels. I always get stuck around the first act.
Oh.
And then if I push through, I'm good. But if I don't, then I just have 30,000 words sitting there.
Oh, I have like 10 of those too.
Yeah, I've got those.
I've got a few of those. They're like 40,000 words is like the spot. If you don't get past that, I feel like you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. I often hit 30,000 words. And I'm like, this is the point where I'm like, okay, this story is really working for me, or it's not. And if it's not, I just grind to a halt.
Same thing. And I think that has to do with like the novels that I do that with are usually ones that I have no like outline or anything. I'm just like shooting from the hip. And it's like 40,000 words, man. It's just like that's the point where you just like tap out if you got nothing left. So
that's when I'm typing the end, boy.
I was gonna say that's 2 of Chad's books.
Maybe that's what we have to do. We'll just have to go into all those documents and just type the end, and we're good. We got a Lutsky novel.
Yeah, yep. I like that. Just got done introducing all the characters, and we're done. So we always ask 2 questions at the end. First, what one thing have you done or didn't work or whatever that you would just recommend people not do?
That's tough, because like any type of marketing or promotional stuff is like not like a one size fits all type of situation. Like what didn't work for me might be amazing for somebody else. But personally, like having a blog, like I tried to get into blogging like early on in my career, and like just writing like stupid blog posts about anything and everything, and doing like top 10 lists of books and movies, because those are always like easy clickbaity stuff that you can usually drive traffic to your website with. But ultimately, the people who did come to the website, they weren't buying books or anything. They were just there to look at the list, or I don't know, just to click on it and then go back to whatever it was they were doing before that. So like I would say for me, blogging is like not worth the time.
Do people still blog? I feel like social media absolutely killed that.
I think it
years
totally
ago.
did. But I mean, just like any type of content on your website. Like, I only have a website just to maintain a presence and also to sell signed books through, and that's it. Like that's the only thing that's on there. If like something big pops up, like I'll put an announcement up there. Like last year I signed with a film and TV agent, so like I put that on there. But like nothing else really.
Yeah, no, I went through my blogging phase too. It worked for a little while 10 years ago, but
you get traffic, but it never translated to sales for me, at least none that I could, see.
Right. See, I always wrote funny stuff for my blog that translated into my books. I didn't do like things that didn't really work. So it worked kind of well, but once Facebook pages came out really and everybody started to migrate to that, it just absolutely obliterated the traffic to my site.
Yeah.
Well,
and I mean, another thing that kind of goes with that a little bit, because another reason why I wanted to have a website was to build like a mailing list up. And I don't know, like I just never was able to build a mailing list from that either, which was kind of like the whole point of trying to drive traffic to the blog. So it's just kind of a big fail for me. But that's all
right. What one thing has worked the best for you?
Writing the best book that I can and getting it into the right reader's hands so they can talk about it. I think word of mouth is like the best promotional tool you have and the cheapest. So I don't know. I think like getting the book into the hands of reviewers that have a lot of like presence and almost like influencer type, the equivalent of like an influencer in the book world, getting your books in their hands and hoping that they like it and want to shout your book to the rooftop is probably the most important thing. And that's honestly worth the best for me. Like I wouldn't have the career that I have without people like Sadie, who you guys have had on the show, kind of pulling for my work and always promoting me. And so I owe those people a great deal for where I am now. So yeah, I would say that works the best. Just getting your book in the right people's hands so they can help promote you.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you.
It's good seeing your face again.
Good seeing yours.
Yeah, I'll see you in 6 months.